Coming up this week on Kiss My Collectibles, we talk with Kiss Kollector John Humphrey. Want more Kiss? Be sure and hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon to stay up to date when we post new episodes.
This is Kiss My Collectibles podcast, but you knew that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Kiss My Collectibles. I am one of your co-hosts, Jason Herndon, and with me, as always, is
Andrew Scambatti, always here.
Always there. And joining us is an old friend of the show. He's been on before, probably 2.5 years ago now. And he's the drummer for Seether and the drummer for the Nixons. And I guess you're in Oklahoma. Is that where you're at right now, John?
I am. I'm home for the holidays.
Home for the holidays.
Yeah, man.
Mr. John Humphrey is with us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, John was last on the show when we were still calling this thing Kiss My Wax, and I think we did the originals episode with you.
Yes.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Long time. So when we were covering just vinyl, that was, John wanted to be a part of that particular.
And then we ran out of records. So
we ran out of records, so we had to. We had to
figure something else out.
We had to figure something else out. So, got another collector spotlight for you guys. We've been doing these a lot lately. A lot of people have been wanting to come on the show and show off their collections, and we've also been reaching out to a lot of people that we know that are collectors that. We want to have on the show to show their collections, and so y'all know the drill by now. We're probably 5 or 6 or 7 episodes into this, so we're going to feature John Humphrey. But before we get started,
housekeeping.
We've got. I know I've got some new stuff to show. Andrew told me before we started recording that he had a couple things, and I think John's got some new vinyl that he wants to show. So, Andrew,
absolutely, sure.
You want me to go first, Andrew, or you want to go first?
I'll go first. I only got 2 things.
Okay. Well, I only got a couple things too. So.
Okay. Well, the first thing that I want to show is because the anniversary is upon us. I thought I'd pull this out. So just like I showed my WPLJ button on the last show, I'm going to show something older from my collection. So what this is the...
Try not to hurt yourself.
It's the Meadowlands Meltdown t-shirt that you could purchase at the December 31st, 1996 concert, which was my first Kiss show. And I heard a rumor that only 500 of these were printed up.
Can't see that, Andrew. Why don't you pull it
in front of it's difficult. I heard a rumor that there was only 500 of these printed up. So at the actual gig, I never got one. And then years later, Mike Brune actually sold this one to me. So this one's an extra large. It's never been worn or washed, which is awesome.
Wow, so you could wear that thing as a dress if it's an extra large.
I could. So with the anniversary coming up, I wanted to show this because this was an important time in history and an important time in my history.
That's right. It's an important time in your history.
Absolutely.
Yeah, first show. So and there's also a typo on the back. The if you look, it says instead of December 31st, comma, it says December, comma 31st.
That's pretty cool.
I blame Spiro for that.
Yeah, damn Spiro.
Yeah, this thing is
quality
huge.
Control, man. Damn.
That's right.
This thing is huge. So I got something else huge too that I'm going to try my best to show on frame. But for those of you just tuning in, I did all the marketing promo ads for Gene Simmons Moneybag Soda, and they always send me a bunch of cool stuff. So this is a 6-foot window cling.
All-American man.
Gene Simmons Moneybag Soda.
Yeah, it's tough to see, but man, that is so cool.
Yeah, so there's not a whole lot of these around, and like I said, it's a window cling. So like you could peel it off here like this and just stick it to a window, or maybe stick it to a wall. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it yet. It showed up a couple days ago, and it's 6 feet. It's huge. So I'll drop in a picture. I'll drop in a picture.
That's cool.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So yeah, that's my new swag.
Forgive me, folks. I know I told the guys this, but I'm a little under the weather, so if I cough, I'm really sorry, especially to you audio-only guys. So, yeah. So, I've got a couple things in, a couple of vintage things, but Andrew and I talked about the what was it called? The Kiss Army stuff being late. And I don't remember if you showed this stuff, but I just walked by.
I don't even have it yet.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So is that in frame?
Yeah.
So there's the shirt, you got with the Kiss Army.
It's hideous.
Yeah.
It's hideous. It finally came, but I wanted to show it, and it also comes with this little button, which I think is pretty cool. So
that is cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's.
Did it come with
There you
anything
go.
else?
That's it, Andrew.
That's what I've been waiting 8 weeks for.
Right. I long for the days that they, if they're going to charge us $60 or $70 to join this thing, which I really don't have a problem with, but I long for the days of them to say, they're doing it with the vinyl now. Why not print up some folders and throw some band shots and a newsletter or something? Yeah, anything like that.
Bio kit. Yeah.
Yeah. So the other two things I got, I don't know if I want. Maybe I'll get this out. So back in the early 80s over in Europe, there was a kind of quasi-official fan club over there. It was kind of when the coin, beast of merchandise was kind of collapsing. This is kind of, I guess it's up for debate, or maybe I guess that this is quasi-official stuff, but there was a bunch of stuff that you could buy over there around the the Unmasked tour and the Lick It Up tour and all of that stuff. So there's these really cool, there's a bunch of these cool scarves. There's only a couple that I'm actively searching out, and I happen to get the German one.
Ooh, very cool.
Killer scarves. You got that, John?
I don't have the German one, no.
Do you have the one with the regular S's? I mean,
I do. Yeah.
So, I'd be looking for that next. You see them pop up every now and then, but they're real thick, and, they've got these.
Yeah.
They're very, very nice pieces.
You going to wear it out this winter, Jason?
Not going to wear it out this winter. So, but there's a bunch of different ones, especially around the Lick It Up period. I don't know if it's another rabbit hole to get down, but this particular one I really, really like. And, I need to get
it's
the
nice
one.
Shape too.
Yeah, it's in really good
nice
shape. So, and then something else that I have just recently started. Did you hear that? It was a cat that just jumped up on my window. So scared me. Yeah.
Peter Chris wanting to get in.
I just started. I recently just started trying to collect these in the boxes. Don't know why I'm just starting now. I have several Migos here out of the boxes, but I got a nice Paul Stanley boxed Migo.
Cool.
Nice.
Still in good shape. The only thing is it's got a small little tear here in the plastic window, but everything is together, and it'll look good with the other three once I get the other three.
Well, you gotta go on that website that I sent you a link for. I probably have to resend it, but you can get like an acrylic case to go around that, so that way it doesn't get damaged.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're going to go as a display case, or with something around them for sure to keep them. Or like the rest of my.
Hang on for a second.
Yeah, man. Or like the rest of my Kiss collection, it'll just sit on the floor back here.
Idiot.
Something like that.
Yes, exactly like that, my friend. Yeah. I definitely am going to have to get this. So how do you have those displayed? I assume you have all four. How do you have them displayed?
I do. I have them lined up, and then I also have the same guy did it for the Halloween costume boxes.
Nice.
And so I have those in the separate cases too.
Very, very nice.
They're really nice to have.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm searching for the other three, and I'm sure I'll grab them. You can get them fairly inexpensively. They're not as not as expensive as they were in the a few years ago. It doesn't seem like to me. So we'll pick those up on a quest, I guess. So
on a quest.
Yeah.
On a quest. But that's all I've gotten. John, show us any kind of new acquisitions that you have.
Okay. Mine actually, like I said before, is vinyl, and it's Allison Steele.
Yeah.
13 musical biographies.
Yes.
It's an hour-long radio show, and it's really, man, I love this stuff. I have the Allison Steele, the early 74, like first album sort of interview. But this one's from about 76, and it's got clips of audio of interviews I've never heard with Peter and Paul and Gene. Ace doesn't talk. And then they play clips, songs off every album up until Rock and Roll Over. So this, I guess, was right before Love Gun came out. But it's really cool. And I guess they did 13 of them. I tried to do some research online. Did the Who, other artists, did Queen, but I couldn't find too much information on KISS. But it's great, man. I've been like a kid listening to it 2 or 3 times just because, here's old interviews I haven't heard. It's really cool. I couldn't find a version of it on YouTube or anything. So
I've never even. Is that Allison's Tea House?
Exactly. Yeah.
It is Allison's
not
Tea House.
Tea House, but it's sponsored by the American Tea Association or something like that.
So because it's odd. You mentioned the early ones, the one from '74. That's actually 2 different specials because Peter and Gene were on one, and Ace and Paul were on the other, and then someone edited them together, but it never aired that way. And the 4 band members never appeared in the same thing. Then there was always another one that I heard called Allison's Tea House, which I wonder if that's what that is, and it was just mislabeled. But I've never heard that one before. I've never heard that one.
Yeah.
Excellent, John.
Really cool. 13 musical biographies. So yeah.
So you're going to have to transfer that and post it for the world to hear.
I know, right? Figure that out.
Send it to us.
Very non-tech savvy. Yeah, absolutely. It's
good
fun.
piece, man. Great piece. So
thank you.
Let's move on to our collector spotlight, and let's talk to John about his history with the band and collecting and all of that stuff. So, John, we might have talked about this 2.5 years ago, but we're going to have you do it again. If you don't mind, could you please just brief the audience of how you got into KISS, how you discovered KISS, and all of that good stuff?
Absolutely. So this would be late 70s. I would have been 2nd grade, and my dad's mom, my grandmother, had a part-time job at a convenience store, and she would bring home the Don Russ cards, little packs as gifts after she had worked a weekend at a convenience store. I'm also a big Elvis fan. That's another thing. But anyway, she would bring me Elvis cards and KISS cards, sometimes Star Wars, sometimes Rocky, but it was there that I discovered KISS. So I saw them before I heard them.
Same.
So I had these cards, and they were amazing, and fell in love with the imagery. And that's about the time the movie was on TV. I watched the movie when it was on. And that's where it started. It was the Don Russ cards that kind of got me into it, man.
That's
awesome.
With
the band.
That's interesting because Greg Crane, who was on the show last week, his big thing was getting those cards. He lived in a smaller town, and that's all he had access to.
Right.
Was the Don Russ cards. Yeah. So let me ask you. I'm assuming you have a set of the cards now in your collection, right?
Yeah. Do
they still smell the same?
I actually have a box, of them unopened.
Right.
And I would imagine that still has the smell. Then obviously I have a set put together, but I do remember distinctly that smell. Absolutely.
Yes.
The ink of those cards, man.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a whole conversation about
scratch and sniff on those suckers too, man.
Yeah.
It had to be like the gum, like fermented into the something about them, because I had a set in the early 90s that got ruined, and I thought that smell was like mold and water damage. That's what I thought it was. And then when I got the sets that I have now in the early 2000s, it smelled exactly the same, and it blew my mind. My mind.
So you got some Don Russ cards and that kind of jazz. So how did you move into the music side of it? I mean, did you, how did that happen? How did that,
Okay, so I then had an aunt that, was one of the gifts, my birthday gift. Hey, I'll take you to a record store. You can pick out any record you want. And I've just been waiting. And Dynasty, the tour was happening. That was the latest album at the time. And I remember talking to my buddy, man, which album should I get? I'm going to get to go to a record store and pick out one KISS record. Which one am I going to grab? And it was KISS Alive. And I remember my little brother picked up KISS Alive too, same day. And we got home, and of course, being kids, he tears into it, and it's got the book and the tattoos and everything. My Alive, this pressing didn't even have a book in it.
Oh, no.
It was I don't know how that even happened. But I didn't even have a book. I was so bummed. I remember just like, anyway. But Alive was my first record. And trust me, regardless of what was in it or what wasn't in it, I wore that thing out.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. And, go ahead, Andrew.
I was going to say, it's interesting. I wonder if that KISS Alive was one of those one of those the Casablanca counterfeits that someone was.
Yeah.
It could have been. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Where those could have been. But
Yeah.
it also could have been. I think we've discovered a pressing that maybe in that 79, 78, 79 era where maybe they weren't putting that stuff in there anymore.
Or they just didn't. Maybe they just ran out.
Right. By 79, we're 5 years later, 4 years later, we're not. They don't have any of the books left. So
yeah, but then we have people on that are like, yeah, I opened my Kiss Alive and the tour book fell out of it. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, those guys. So
yeah,
so
I was there too, man. I wasn't even born yet, but I was there.
Yeah, but my story is similar, and I've told it a bunch of times. I'm not going to tell it all again, but I saw the movie and was just in love with the imagery, and the only thing that I could get, my parents went to Ben Franklin and bought me Destroyer, and I just stuck it on. I didn't even realize there was music that went with these guys, so
right.
And I think you've got probably 3 years on me or so in the story, but so you were a little bit older, but I was right there in the 79 time frame. So
yeah.
I wouldn't be a Kiss fan, and Gene would smite me if I let this opportunity go by, because both of you are talking about the movie, but there was another Kiss movie that was just recently released that you can see on Vimeo right now. So look on Vimeo, The Greatest Show on Earth fan film. Check it out. Plug.
Who did that?
Yeah. You learn from the best.
I learned from the best. So check it out on Vimeo, and there'll be a link in the description.
Yeah.
So John, so you had the cards, and after the cards, what is the first thing that you remember getting that wasn't music that you kind of called yourself a collector? I know in the late 70s and early 80s, lots of kids had lots of Star Wars toys, and they weren't really, you didn't really collect, you played with them. But what was the first thing that you remember that you transitioned from, I guess, playing with it to being a collector?
I think it would be the posters, and I had friends in the neighborhood we would trade. And, some friends are still friends today, and others we had falling out even back then over trading stuff. That passion starts early, right?
It sure does.
But it was the posters, and I think it would be like the Alive 2 posters. I loved picking up 16 magazine and getting those fold outs, those pin-ups. I would put those all over my room. So I think it would be posters. And then I think after Alive, I want to say Dynasty might have been my second, of course, and it had the poster, and so those went up on my wall. So the connection was definitely music. Obviously, the cards were first, and then the posters went up quickly and all over. There wasn't even, you couldn't even see white wall, man. It was just
same here, man. Same.
Kids.
And I remember so well, those first records, probably the first 4, 5, or 6 records that I got. I can specifically remember where I was, what house I was in when I got Dynasty for Christmas, or when my mom brought home The Elder, or where I was when I got Unmasked for Christmas. I was at my aunt's house, and because back, I'm just getting into the band, and they've got 15 records to choose from at that point in time, or how many ever it was, 12 records to choose from, and that count them up. How many records? They've got a bunch of records at that point in time to choose from in 1981, 82, and
17,
so my parents
17.
see a bunch of records, and they could just go buy anything, but I just remember. I remember I was at another aunt's house when I got Dressed to Kill. It's just, those memories are seared in my brain.
Man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to blow both
having,
of your mind.
the inner sleeves to Kiss Alive 2 on my brothers, which I would use as sort of a checklist of the discography. And I remember it was like Hotter Than Hell, I think was like one of the last ones I ever got of the original sort of early catalog. And I remember just wanting to hear that album, and just for the longest time. I mean, I swear, I don't think I heard Hotter Than Hell until 81 or 82, maybe.
Wow.
I was very different when I first got the albums. I had most of them they were hand-me-down cassettes of original Casablanca cassettes, which I still have in my collection. And then it was one Christmas that I got Kiss Alive, non-remastered, but I got Kiss Alive 2 that was remastered, and I didn't really know the difference. But I knew there were all these other albums, and the record store by me called Record Town, they were blowing out all the non-remastered CDs, and I can get every Kiss album for $4 or $5.99.
Right.
So I stocked up. And then once I was a little bit older and realized that there were things missing and the album sounded better, I joined Columbia House, and I got all the remaster CDs, and then ended my subscription.
Right.
What he did.
I wish I'd have joined Columbia House back then when I was 6 and got Lick It Up on 8-track.
Right.
Got 10 of them. So, but
I
yeah,
wasn't
man.
in school, Andrew. I belonged to the RCA club back then, and they didn't have kids, but they were. I'm like, why did I? Wrong club.
Wrong club. Yeah.
So I want to ask you. I want to ask you about that Psycho Circus award behind you.
Yeah.
Because I have a little bit of history involved. Well, that's like a pinnacle in my personal history. I was there when they were presented with the records for the gold album for Psycho Circus at Madison Square Garden in 1998.
Just in case you don't know what these are, we're going to let some other people do some talking. This is the first time they've probably spoken to 16,000 people, but they're not nervous. This is the gold album, the 30th gold album for KISS, tying the record of the Beatles.
How did you come about to get that? What are the origins of that? What can you tell us about that piece?
That's actually a gift from Loretta. I've become friends with Loretta, Eric's sister. I actually played on an unfinished demo, Eyes of Love, for that Unfinished Business CD a few years back. And
Yep.
I met her and have been in touch with her. Anytime I'm up in New York, New Jersey touring, I go by and see her. It was so surreal to be at her house and watch KISS on America's Got Talent that night. It's the night they were on TV. I'm with her watching
Oh, wow.
KISS, such a trip, but she's just a sweetheart, and she's given me some things. So that actually, it says presented to Eric Carr, because anybody, the family and related, are entitled to the awards, and she actually gifted that to me. So that was from her.
Incredible. And I think it's the same design that the band was actually presented with on stage at Madison Square Garden, if I remember.
The thing is huge in gold frame, and
Oh yeah, you can tell.
It's incredible.
It's beautiful.
Larger
It's
piece.
incredible.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Very, very beautiful.
Oh,
So, excuse me. So, you got into KISS. Well, let me ask you before I do this. Before we do this transition here. So you've got Don Russ cards, and you've got posters, and you've got the albums, of course. Are there any other period pieces that you pick up during the time, maybe played with and destroyed or kept or whatever? Like the color forms or the rub and play kits or any of those other kinds of things, stuff from the order forms. There's, you're right there on the cusp of that stuff not being around anymore, just like I was. So, were you able to find any of that stuff? Like, for example, myself, I was able to find the rub and play kit probably in 1981 in a store for like $0.25 or something like that, So were there any things like that you were able to get your hands on back then that were merchandise related?
Yeah, really not too much. Again, I had a little brother, and he had the color form set, and of course we fought over those because you got two boys fighting over the color form set. But that's really been the enjoyment of going back and recollecting or collecting stuff that I initially didn't have access to. Sure. Just like a kid growing up, my parents, we didn't have a lot of money or disposable income, and I heard a lot of no, we can't afford that. No, not this time. No. And I always blame my mom for the reason that I'm just over the top with my collecting, because I heard a lot of no growing up. So when I could do it, by God, I went and got it,
Yeah. Amen. So that brings us to that transition period. About when did you start doing that, going, you know what, I'd like to have all of this stuff that I didn't have before? We hear a lot of stories from people that started in, the late 80s or mid 80s, whenever the convention started. Or or was it the 90s? When did that start ramping back up for you, looking for older stuff?
I think for vinyl, very much so in the late 80s. You mentioned the record conventions and things that were happening. I'm from Oklahoma, and so conventions happening in Oklahoma and Texas I would go to. For me, that was my introduction to bootleg videos, and that whole world for seeing, the KISS concerts and those classic videos now. And these were sometimes being sold at the same conventions that I'm picking up bootleg vinyl or actual, vinyl. Like I said, Kiss Alive 2, or that book went all over my brother's wall, my wall, or whatever. So I went back and recollected these things, getting the inserts. It was like a whole process going back and in getting those things again and keeping them or getting them in just such a fine condition and keeping them just as they were, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, it's funny. We get stuff as kids, we tear it apart, and then we get older and pay $300 to get it again.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Not very bright, is it? So, were you able to, again, you had just a couple of years on me. Were you able to attend any of those early conventions on the East Coast, or were you still a little young for that? Or
yeah, I was still a little young, but we had some cool conventions come through. And then for me, as far as like the hardcore coin stuff, that would have to really begin with eBay in the 90s.
Oh,
I think
okay.
that opened a whole new world to me of things that just weren't being found in Oklahoma, quite honestly.
Right.
You know, there were a few things, but it was really, really the advent of eBay and that whole world opening up. I mean, I think you mentioned it before, Jason, about like I didn't even believe the Originals 2 existed. I had the Music Life Japanese books and saw the ad, and I'm like, what the hell is that? I had never even seen one until one was posted on eBay. I had never even seen one in person. So, it definitely was, I think, the 90s, the internet and that collecting, it became a possibility for me to go and get those things again.
Yeah, absolutely. eBay definitely opened, the floodgates up. I was lucky enough to have my older friend. I'm not going to say his name because Andrew probably
Danny
will.
Devs.
That's right. And he had all of this stuff, and he started in the late 80s. He going to all of those expos. Excuse me, those conventions that were in the New England area.
Yeah.
The New York conventions, the Rhode Island, the Providence, Rhode Island ones and stuff. And so he, bought all of that stuff. So I was able to look at all that stuff and go, whoa. Yeah. And I basically used him as a checklist.
Yeah.
I need to get this. I need to get this, and
right.
So, I was, able to started getting catalogs from Peter Arquette and Frank Caraglio and all of those guys before the advent of eBay. And that's when I started recollecting again. And then eBay just opened the floodgates. So,
right.
Excuse me, guys. Sorry. So why don't you tell us, I know you set some pieces aside to show us some of your maybe prized possessions or choice pieces out of your collection. Why don't you talk about some of those pieces in your collection that are some of your, your favorite items and things like that?
Yeah, not the most rare or most valuable, but your favorite ones.
Yeah, boy, that's, this is one fairly recent, well, not too recently, a few years back, but obviously being a drummer, huge Peter Criss fan, huge influence on me. And I actually was able to acquire this through a guy on Amazon who just had a massive collection of Rolling Stone magazines. And I asked him, I found out the year and the month, East Coast edition. And sure enough, he had it. And it's the one that Peter Criss advertised in.
I have one
Rolling
of those
Stone.
well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Rolling Stone, which was, being a Peter Criss fan, though, that's pretty cool. And then here in the back, I have a couple things. Backstage auctions, I've done a couple of those, and this is a Christmas card, Peter and Lydia, and that's like one of his old business cards.
Oh, wow.
So cool.
That is killer, John.
Yeah, I used to carry around with him. So being a drummer and a Peter Criss fan, that's like a big one for me. And then I was telling Andrew, I only pulled a couple, but I love the press kits. I love the Army kits. I think that, again, with the Army kits especially, I wanted to be a member of the KISS Army back then and couldn't do it. So I went back and pieced together those sets. But I love press kits too. And my prized possessions are the first 3 albums. And here's the first album press kit.
Man.
Holy crap.
And I love those. They're so unique,
That is some expensive collectibles, John.
Hotter Than Hell.
Unbelievable.
And then, Dressed to Kill. I just think those are so cool and so unique, and just the early story of the band.
I've only held those in my hand one time. They're incredible.
And then here's the Australian Army kit.
Yes,
incredible.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I just love it. It's such a unique time, Jason. We talk about. I mean, I stuck with the band through that era. And they weren't cool anymore. And I'm at school, and my friends are still like KISS, man.
Yeah,
like, yeah.
I didn't. There wasn't wasn't a single person in my school that liked KISS when I was, in first, second, third, fourth grade. Not a single person.
Me neither.
Right.
Not until I'm not even going to say 86 again, with Tears Are Falling. It was probably 88 when some people started coming around and going, yeah, man, I saw a couple of videos on MTV. I guess they're cool, but
right.
not in the early 80s. Nobody, not a single person. I got made so much fun of. So
yeah, the cool era. And then being a drummer, of course, and I have to give my props to Eric Carr as well. So I have, I didn't go to the show, but this is the ticket stub from the Palladium.
Oh, wow.
His first show, 1980. And then, and this is a drumstick of his, the first one. Can you see his writing on there?
Pull it.
There it is.
There you go.
Yep.
That looks great. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, printed.
And I actually need to get that put together and framed, but that's really means a lot to me. Creatures was my first show, my first tour to see, and Eric Carr. When I saw them in Flesh and Blood, Eric Carr was the drummer, so I have a connection with Eric as well.
Same here.
Yeah,
that's the first time I saw
Peter, but I saw Eric. And then the coin stuff. Here's the show beam, right? You've seen.
Very killer.
But it was very cool to finally find the actual projector, the show beam.
I've never seen that before.
Are you really?
Yeah,
I've never seen that.
Yeah,
before.
it's really kind of cool. Actually,
yeah. I mean,
so I have opened one. It's kind of dorky, actually. I mean,
right, and it's not like it has anything KISS on it, but it's cool to display. It's kind of like having the Viewmaster thing,
right?
To the viewer to put with your Viewmaster, reels.
Right.
Yeah, it's killer.
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
Super killer.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I never had a KISS Viewmaster, but I did have a bunch of Ninja Turtle Viewmasters.
I've got the Viewmasters, but that show beam stuff is definitely on my want list.
Yeah. And then going back and getting those things, like I said, that I couldn't as a kid, and I like to find all upgrade to the best condition. And so I have a backpack that's still sealed.
Incredible.
I love that. And I don't have them pulled out, but I have the board, the two puzzles, Love Gun Destroyer, and then the on tour game still sealed as well.
Awesome.
And then here's a little pack set that from their first Madison Square Garden show. So this held tickets.
Right.
This was like a button you would wear, I guess, for the backstage guests. And then this is the invite for the after party.
Yes.
All kind of put together, and that's sort of cool. Almost
Incredible.
double platinum looking.
I've seen
That's
those.
so cool.
Yeah, I've seen the ticket holders before.
Yeah.
That's so
very
cool. That
cool.
was the first bootleg I ever saw, was that Madison Square Garden show from '77. The first one I ever saw.
Yeah. Wow. My first thing, I have to tell this side story too. So, in between getting the cards alive, then I had an aunt who had HBO early on. And this is when HBO wasn't cable. This was Antenna on the Roof. In July 4th, 79, I remember being so excited. They were having a big cookout. But the reason I was there is KISS was going to be on HBO. And I
Forget the family, HBO, baby.
Shit, man. KISS is on HBO. And I remember being so thrown because Dynasty is the tour of the time. And I remember like, wow, this is like they look different. This is an older show or something. I couldn't quite put it together. I remember that sort of instant shock, like, because I thought it was going to be the Dynasty show.
Right.
I'm thinking like they had been through Oklahoma recently. My friends were telling me about it. My friend had the tour book and their costumes, of course. And I remember being thrown a little bit, but man. And she had a VCR and recorded that thing. And anytime I would go to her house, it was, please put on the KISS show, So I have that great memory of the HBO.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, great memory. And then here's I love these kind of rare notebooks. That's
me too.
The Dynasty ones, the kind of less common.
Yep.
Wow.
I don't have the smaller one. That's probably what I'm looking for.
I have the smaller one as well. They're super killer.
Pad.
The steno pad.
Yeah,
it's a lot thicker. It's got a lot more pages in it.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't have.
It's a lot thicker.
Do you write your Seether dates in those notebooks?
No.
Oh, well, I use them as diaries and write how much I hate Andrew Scamatti so much.
Yeah. This is funny. On the Knights of Satan service page, John Five's page, just gifted one of his makeup kits to one of his really good friends, Mike Parker. And when you looked at what the makeup case was, it was an old '78 lunchbox, just beat to hell. And John was keeping his makeup in there.
Oh wow.
beat to hell. So he used it like me, because I still use my stuff. You know, there's stuff that I have from the 70s and 80s I still use just because I want to get enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
So
you're
if I had those notebooks, I would use them.
You're kidding
I have
me.
an older trash can. It's kind of banged up. It's real rusted. A friend just gave it to me for nothing. Yeah. And I use it to hold stuff, you know, because I have a much nicer one, obviously, but I have one that I just kind of use to store posters and stuff.
Well, you know? I have a nice one too, but I use my nice one to store posters. I don't think that can hurt it, but I'm not writing in my notepads. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, some of those things, right. I mean, I guess, was it like an older lunchbox? He obviously has like a one.
It probably was. And even, I don't know if it was a 78 lunchbox, but I know back in the early 2000s when I was just like roadieing and helping out Kiss Nation, their drummer, Joey Quezada, he had a Kiss lunchbox. I don't remember which one it was, and he kept his makeup in there. So I don't know if it was a 78 one or if it was one of those newer ones, but it seems like everybody wants to keep their makeup in a Kiss lunchbox. I never had that idea before.
Of course.
Well, you know, I mean, you can buy those things all day long. Why not? You know.
Yeah.
Well, you could buy them now because you could buy the repros now, but
right. But
like
you can.
Right. That's what I thought. Maybe he was using as one of those repros or something.
The original ones now were like $650.
It's crazy, man. The prices on some of that stuff it's unbelievable.
Well, I mean, the market bears it. So if somebody's paying it,
yeah,
why not charge it? You know.
That's right.
You know. I mean,
absolutely.
Who knows what it'll be like? I mean, we all saw, you know, the collapse of in the late 80s. This stuff was not very expensive at all, you know, and but some things were, but a lot of things weren't. And
but in the early 2000s, it wasn't really expensive either.
So
there was a huge surge in 96 to the late 90s, and then 2002, 2003. I bought a lunchbox for $100. That was mint.
Yeah.
Mint.
Yeah. So
and you can tell things kind of go in a cycle. You can kind of tell when people are holding on to stuff or when people are sort of purging things, you know. Right. It seemed like 08, 09 was like one last kind of great. Prices were pretty good, and I was able to get quite a few things in that period. But right now, either people are holding on to stuff, it seems, or but like you said, I guess the market's bearing some of those prices, man. It's unbelievable.
It really is unbelievable. It really is. Absolutely unbelievable. So, so what's your plan for your collection? Do you plan to hold on to it and pass it down, or you think you'll sell it one day?
I think so. I think those who know me, both my kids are in music. My oldest son is a drummer, actually, and he's filled in for the Nixons, actually, on a couple of shows. There was a little conflict of scheduling that happened with Seether and the Nixons. The Nixons, my old band from the 90s, did a reunion a couple of years ago, and we've been doing some shows. And anyway, my oldest, he's a second year of college. He's 19, great little drummer, and he's kind of, I guess, following in his dad's footsteps, so to speak. But both my kids love music, huge appreciation for Kiss too. We're going to go see Kiss. They're here in February, in Oklahoma in February, and I'm going to take the boys. We're going to go do that together, which will be fun. I'm off the road this next coming year, so we'll definitely do that experience together. And they appreciate the band. I don't know that I'll generally give them the collection, like pass it down to them. I don't know if it's that'll be their thing. Maybe it's still early to tell. I don't know. And to be honest, I sold a large portion of my posters. I finally kind of came to the realization that I don't have wall space for it. There's stuff that I just can't get framed. I loved having it. I've hung on to some key pieces. I have the first album promo,
sure,
Hotter Than Hell calendar, and the Dress to Kill promo. But a lot of the stuff, actually, I sold to a gentleman, collector in Nashville, really cool guy. And I just finally went, look.
Gary Kahn?
Steve Allen.
Oh, Steve Allen. Steve's a great guy.
Yeah, great guy, man.
Great
awesome guy. And I was happy to see it go to a good home. So I sold him a large portion of my poster collection, actually.
Yeah. Super nice dude. We need to have Steve on if he'll come on sometime, Andrew.
Yes. He's such a cool guy. Yeah.
So you've kind of gone through some of the cool things that you have, and I know you keep moving to the side, and I see a fire hat back there.
I do too. I saw it too.
I've got a little story there.
Yeah.
I know that's really cool. But before we get to the fire hat story, because I do want to hear that, kind of take us through, do like 3 to 5 pieces that you don't have in your collection that you really want?
Oh man. Well, 4 of those pieces would either be the solo album signature stick pins or the necklaces. I'd love to have those in the prices when you find them, if you find them. I have a Peter necklace. For some reason, there seems to be abundance
Everybody
of those.
does. And I want to know why that is. It scares me. It scares me.
Because usually it's Peter, like when you're collecting the solo albums or anything, it's the Peter one that is so difficult to find. But in the case of the necklaces, for some reason, Peter's everywhere.
And they're like 60, 40, 50, 60 bucks,
They're like 40, 60,
so
50.
No, they're not expensive. They're,
compared to the $1,000 Gene Simmons, it's like huge difference. Yeah. So 1 through 4 or 1 through 8 would definitely be those items. They're, I'd love to. I have the belt buckles from the order forms, the solo album order forms, but I don't have the necklaces or the stick pins.
Neither do I.
I'm surprised. I thought maybe your number one item would have been like a 74 Peter drum kit or something, because I know the Ludwig one was just sold on backstage auctions like 5 or so years ago.
I know. I think it was Peter's brother-in-law or something had played it. He was Deborah, his ex-wife, I think, was selling. That was amazing, man. I mean, I wish. Yeah, I guess if I had an extra $25K, I'd try to pick that. Unfortunately, I didn't. But if fantasy and money was no object, God, man, I'd love to have a Peter kit. Absolutely.
Sure. There's a guy in Nashville. You might know him, Christopher Williams. He plays with Accept. He was supposed to get the gig with Ace, but I guess schedule conflicts. He owns one of Peter's reunion drum kits, but then he also built a replica of the Rock and Roll Over drum kit, which is absolutely incredible. If you've ever seen it in person, it's just it's jaw dropping. The detail that he put into that. I mean, the guy's really talented.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Billy Baker, good friend of mine out of Nashville.
Billy. Yeah.
You know Billy?
Talking to me. Yeah, I know Billy, and he's talking to me about either refurbishing like an old school Pearl, concert tom fiberglass thing, or maybe doing one of my newer kits in that sort of Kiss Alive mirror finish. I think he's awesome, man. That stuff's beautiful.
Billy is amazing. He's been building drums for ever and ever and ever. He was in a band with a bunch of guys that I became very, very good friends with. Called Bombshell Crush. So he was with Tony Higbee, who plays with
Tom Kiefer.
Kiefer now, and Denny Smith. And I had, when Billy quit Bombshell Crush, I had auditioned, and then the band, auditioned to take his spot, and then the band kind of, disintegrated for various reasons. And then Denny Smith went on to form another band with some of those guys called Former, and I played a couple of gigs with those guys. But yeah, Billy is a good friend of mine. I've known him for many years. So
he does beautiful work, man.
Beautiful work he does. So
didn't he just do Eric's kit?
Yes,
he did.
He has done Eric's End of the Road kit. Yes.
Yeah, it's awesome because he's going to do some concert toms too on some things, and kind of the old school vibe, kind of a nod to Peter and the Alive kit, and I think that's cool, man.
Yeah, good guy, man. Super good guy. So, all right. So let's hear about that Firehouse hat.
KISS stage worn fire helmet, Mohegan Sun, Connecticut, 8/19/2010. So I had a collector contact me who, quite honestly, needed some money. And he had the story, he had it on DVD, had it entirely documented. This would have been, I think, the Sonic Boom tour. And he was backstage, and he made this helmet himself. He made the badge, and did a whole replica thing. And it's on video, and Paul walks up and is totally blown away by it. He's like, wow, this looks amazing. And he signed it for him and everything. And they got to talking, and Paul goes, I ought to wear this tonight. And he goes, are you serious? He goes, yeah, man, I'll wear it. And he's like, can you get it back to me? And he goes, oh, yeah, we'll figure it out. So they did Firehouse. He wore this hat. He signed it before, and then kicked it off. And I have a photo of him performing with it. Because that was just sort of rare at the time for him to be doing it, because he hadn't done it in years. So anyway, and then I have, like I said, the DVD of the entire meeting and how it all went down. And he kicked it off, obviously, and they got it back to him. So he had it, contacted me, and goes, "I know you're a big KISS fan, and quite honestly, I need some money. Would you be interested in this?" So I'm like, absolutely.
That is a killer story, man.
That's really cool. And when I was watching these 70s concerts, and then when I went to see the band and the reunion tour, and then Psycho Circus and Farewell tour, I always was like, why isn't he doing that anymore? I thought that would have been cool. I'm surprised he's not doing it on the end of the road tour, and you could pre-buy it, for $5,000.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, why not? If you're gonna sell everything that's bolted down to the stage, man, you might as well do that too.
Keith LaRue's watching right now, and he's gonna go, "I'm gonna call Paul. I've got an idea."
Got an idea, Paul. Hey, Andrew, John, and I want a little cut of that. So
that'll never
work
happen.
it out. It'll never happen.
No, it'll never happen. That's too funny. That's too funny.
Maybe he'd give me one.
Yeah. So are you in your KISS room right now?
Yeah, this is my music room, actually. I have KISS and, Seether on the wall there.
Oh, wow.
Ridiculous vinyl here.
That's where you set up before when we did the original.
I did.
Episode.
I used to, change my backgrounds, right? For Kiss My Wax, it was the records there, and then...
That's so cool.
So, yeah, it's my music room, and I have a turntable, which I love, and sit up here and listen to music.
Do you have two microphones? No, two turntables and a microphone, sorry.
That's the newer pinball machine there.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I love that thing, man. It's really...
Do you have the topper for it with the KISS logo?
I need to get that.
Dude, get that. That's the best part of the whole machine, man.
I know. Gotta do it.
Yeah.
When I was waiting to meet Gene for the vault earlier this year, the place where they had us waiting at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they had one of the pinball machines there. So I was like playing it, and people were like, "Can we play?" And I was like, "No, I'm not done." I just sat there and I played it.
Yeah, of course, and I know Andrew's tired of hearing it, but my buddy Danny Dams has the limited edition version of it.
I've never heard that name before, Danny.
And he's got it set right beside his Bally machine. Do you have a Bally machine?
I used to. I don't.
Yeah. But it's so cool to go over his house and play those machines. So next time you're up, Andrew, we're going to play pinball. KISS pinball.
You mean really down?
Or down, yeah.
They played in Oklahoma 2 years ago, and it's signed. The back glass is signed on this.
Oh, cool.
One.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was really, very cool.
Very, very,
and
very cool.
Remember, if anybody has seen sort of the art for it, it's very much, it's Eric and Tommy, at least on the back glass anyway.
Correct.
And Eric, being as cool as he always is, like, "You sure you want me to sign this?" He's always real cautious, like, I didn't play on this record, or, fans that maybe don't realize. And I'm like, "Dude, that's you. I want you to sign it."
Yeah.
So he signed the back glass. Yeah. I'm like, "That's you, man. Absolutely."
Yeah. It's cool that he does that. Yeah, I've heard some stories where, they weren't paying attention and he signed, some things. But, good Lord, you can't scrutinize every single little piece that comes. But every time I've had him sign stuff, he's always been very, very cautious about that. And I always appreciated that about Eric.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I think it's a cool thing to do.
Yeah, I do too. So let's see. What other... I mean, are there any little things that we've left out here? Are there any other items that you want to talk about? Any special, I don't know if people realize it, but you opened some shows. The Nixons opened some shows for KISS in '96, right? So you were on tour for a little while with them. So
there's, I don't know if you remember the story, John, but one of the times that you were up here, you were telling me a story about how you were opening a bunch of shows on the reunion tour, and then you brought back like a huge truckload almost of merchandise, and you were like sitting in your hotel room with like 10 tour books, and you had all this merchandise sitting around you.
So tell that story if that happened.
Dude, yes, it was awesome. That was the Nixons, and we had a song in the top 40 at the time called "Sister," and it just timed right. Thank you. Timed right for us to be opening on that tour. And I have this great kind of pre-story where I actually met Doc McGee. Our manager introduced me to Doc at the Sky Bar in Los Angeles. And this is before the reunion tour really went into full. I knew that he was managing them, and I'm picking his brain, and actually sat there and just had a drink and talked. And he was the one who was telling me about initially the idea of the 8 wonders of the world. They're going to play in front of the Coliseum. They're going to play in front of, and it's funny. I told that story and everybody was like, you're crazy, until Paul's book came out and explained that was really a thing.
Yeah.
That was, this was an idea. They'd play in front of the Sphinx and do these huge, play in front of these wonders of the world. But anyway, I met Doc and I told him at the time, man, I love to open for KISS, and he's, and so would the whole world, man, But it turned out the timing was great. We had a song that was a hit at the time, and we were able to open 6 shows over a 2-week period, and it was great. They were all mostly back east. It was Chicago, Dayton, Pittsburgh. It was the last night, Madison Square Garden, of the 4 nights, and it was great because we spent the whole week in New York. Our passes were good, so I went to all the shows, and then obviously went in the last night and then we opened, and we played the Boston Fleet Center. That was the last one. That's where that photo I sent Andrew of us with the band, because that's way before VIP experiences or, you couldn't just get a photo with the band. And I have to give props to Tommy Thayer, because I remember talking to him and I'm like, dude, it'd be a dream of mine. I got to get a picture with the band. And he goes, well, they'll walk down the hallway past your dressing room you have to be ready, and I'll make that happen, but we'll stop for a second. You have to be ready. And they came down the hallway on their way to the stage, and Tommy's like, now. We all jumped out there, took that photo, and they were headed to the stage in Boston.
Amazing.
And that's when that photo was. But it was a great memory, man. I remember doing the show. We had great shows. We were one of the few bands that weren't booed, thankfully. I think they kind of liked us. We'd go out front and watch the show, man, and I was just in heaven. I'm being a KISS fan. Being of the age, I didn't at all get to experience the original band in their heyday. I was too young for those shows.
Yep.
So, the reunion show, we're definitely full of fans like me that were just a little too young for that first time, but just were, clamoring to see them again.
Man, I have to say, you were definitely a big deal during that time,
Yeah.
But how much were you shitting your pants?
Oh, dude. And everybody knew me, would just come up to me, backstage or whatever, like, dude, you're opening for KISS. It wasn't so much you're playing the Garden, which was awesome, and I flew my family in, and that was, that's a dream, even though we were opening band. Still the same dream that Peter always talked about, which is, I'm going to play Madison Square Garden someday. Yeah, it's like, this really was happening to me, but it wasn't the Garden so much as it was KISS,
Oh, man.
And so my family was there, and my parents sat next to Paul Stanley's parents. They kind of had a family section. And my mom just kind of had small talk with, but it was great, man. I remember Paul being up, like I said, we'd come out, and on that particular show, I went out with my family to watch, and Paul at the end and Ace are up on the cherry picker, and Paul kind of points at his mom and waves, and, just a surreal experience, man. It was awesome. It was incredible.
It's incredible.
So what a lot of people don't know, or fans of yours now don't know, is that you've had 2, I don't want to say chances, but you've kind of had 2 go-arounds in being an extremely successful musician. First it was with the Nixons, and now it's with Seether. So I know it's kind of off the beaten path for our show, but how does that, what goes through your head when you're on stage with Seether, who is extremely popular and doing extremely well? What goes through your head knowing that you're up there doing that with Seether, but you also had an extremely successful run with another band before that? What goes through your head every night?
Just how freaking blessed I am, how fortunate I am. Yeah, it's a tough business, and I've been very, very fortunate, and have crossed paths and made friends with some people that meant a lot. I mean, Seether really came by way of who and that was really the sound engineer for the Nixons when the Nixons went on hiatus. First was working with Drowning Pool, and then started with Seether in 2003. And those guys had relocated from South Africa. Their drummer didn't want to move to the States. It was a pretty big deal. These guys are in their early 20s. They're leaving their family and their whole lives behind to kind of come to the States to pursue their dream with music and their band. And they had a studio drummer on the first album. And anyway, the sound engineer's like, dude, I got a guy I think he'd fit really well. That was in 2003. I've been with him 15 years now. But Yeah, I'm blessed, man. When I'm up on stage and getting to do after all these years, you know, and pay the bills and take care of my family and do what I love to do. And really, it goes full circle with KISS, because KISS is really the reason I dreamed of even doing this, wanting to pursue music, sing. That was my first concert. I mean, it changed my life to my core. It changed me as a person and made me want to do what I've been blessed to be able to do.
Amen, brother. And I tell you what, couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. I've seen Seether, you know, a couple times, and it's clear that you're having fun and happy to be up there.
Absolutely.
It's very, very cool. And it's cool that you're such a KISS fan. You know, I remember years ago us just chatting about, oh, what wheels did you put on your road case to make it look like the Kissteria box set? You know, that was back when all my records fit in a road case, and they don't anymore. Not even close.
That happened.
John's records don't even hardly fit in his house, let alone a road case.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys remember when Kissteria came out? I mean, I wasn't gonna get Kissteria, but I was like, I love the design, so I got one of those DJ road cases. I put some vinyl KISS logos on there, you know, made it, weathered it, put some backstage passes on there, and just went to Home Depot and got some 2-inch casters, and it looks cool.
Yeah, and I still have it. And you were the one who suggested the casters that I got and put it all together. And then, of course, I couldn't resist the temptation and finally gave and bought a Kissteria as well.
That's right, buddy.
The one that I worked on.
That's right.
Did you ever get one, Andrew?
No, because I have most of the records that are in there, and
That's
the
right,
only exclusive that I wanted was double platinum, and I purchased that. And I don't know. I mean, it was kind of one of those things where I just, the extra stuff in there really didn't sell it to me. But I tell you, when the Gene Simmons wallet came to be, I was itching to buy that. And you know, we've discussed the vault extensively on the show, and I just remember when like the stars aligned when I got that, because I mean, if you guys remember when the vault was first announced, there wasn't a Cleveland date, which is where I live, and you couldn't finance it; you just pay it all up front. So then the Cleveland date was announced, and go, oh, by the way, you could do PayPal financing, and I was like, well, hell, I'm going to do that. I'll pay it off before the interest comes due, and that's exactly what I did. It's exactly what I did.
Yep.
And it's the coolest thing in my collection.
That's cool. And the experience, I assume. I didn't do that, but it looked like it was meeting. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you've met him before, but I mean, the vault experience must have been special.
Incredible.
It was really great. Especially, we were lucky enough to have like the first few months, 4 or 5 months of it before the wheels kind of came off of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Our experiences were not as good as Julian Gill's experience.
Okay.
But definitely good.
I think mine was just as good.
Well, you
got a free vault.
I did get a free vault. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I won it on the radio here in Nashville, man.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He got a free vault.
I got a free vault out of it. So I got to do
was doing it, may I ask?
It was the Rock 105.9.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I won that, and so I got to.
Vinny at that event?
Vinny was at that event.
Okay.
It was surreal.
A special guest at yours, Andrew?
No special guest at mine.
Okay.
But what was funny with mine is Keith Valcourt, who is the global project manager. Him and I ended up striking up a friendship. And the night before, he called me and says, "Hey, Gene needs a pair of jeans and some belts and hairspray, and you have to go get it." So I did.
We're all just gophers for the guys in KISS, man. That's all.
Man, that was, I've done a lot of cool things, but I tell you, that was cool. And then I got it on video, or I go, Gene, I got you that belt. He goes, I'm wearing it right now. I feel something with you,
A deep connection through this.
Yeah, that stuff is never not going to be cool. That getting those experiences with the band members is cool. Talking with the collectors on this show is cool because it makes me want to go back in and dig through the collection again and look at stuff and pull stuff out and listen to the vault again or do stuff like this. So I've said it so many times before. We all just need to cut the crap. Stop bitching about what we don't like and just promote what we love. That's what we got to do. People tell me that's a flawed way of thinking, and it's not, and I stand firmly behind it. And with 2019 coming up, I'm not going to talk about anything negative. I'm only going to talk about stuff I like. And,
I'm holding you to that.
You should. You should.
I mean, hold me to it, too.
The big picture, I think KISS and its organization, the band themselves, have always gone above and beyond for the fans. I mean, with the box sets, the Kissologies, the experiences at the shows, to the colored vinyl that's coming now. I mean, there's bands that completely neglect their fan base, and I think KISS, for better or worse, I think have done an awesome job for us. I
agree totally. Yeah, I agree totally. I would much rather be a fan of a band that gives as more than we can consume than a band that does nothing.
Right.
Yeah. Much,
absolutely.
Much prefer it.
Right.
So, they're not making me buy anything that I don't want to buy. So
right.
Okay, Jason Hemdon.
Well, at least they made that right.
Yeah, they did. Hey, so I didn't know if you knew about that, but they made that right immediately. So
yeah.
So that was good to know, Jason Hemdon.
I mean
that's a great story.
You spelled your name, they got to make that right.
That's right, man. It wasn't expensive, but that wasn't a super cheap item. So
right.
So
what happened? Can I ask? Did you have to send it back then when you were sent the correct one, or what did you do?
They said that they said that they wanted me to return it, but they never sent me. They said they'd send me a call tag, but I never got a call tag. So I mean, it's sitting here in a box ready to go. If they ever send me a call tag, I'm happy to stick it on. I'm not going to pay to send it back, but
no.
So it's just.
So you still got it?
It's sitting here in a box. So
and I'm just waiting for the show where Andrew said he would buy it if he still had it.
Well, there's a solo album promotional. Actually, you know what? I can show you now because I can kind of move a little bit now. Oh wait, no, never mind. Can't. Yeah, no. There's a solo album promotional arrow right above here that I said I'll trade you that for that, and then I was like, and then I put up a little poll on my Facebook page, and I said, well, what should I get? So I ended up buying one myself, and it showed up. I mean, it's been well documented that I don't dig the customer service in the end of the road store. So it took a little bit of time to get to me.
There's an issue with I bought the Rock and Roll Over award too, John, and there's the backing board that's on it. It's got a big, I don't know if it's a crease or a bubble or whatever.
Put their hand in it.
It's about that long, and
well, I'm still waiting. I bought the package, the pin, shirt.
So did I. Rock and Roll Over. Yeah, me too.
I've received a couple emails about still waiting.
Yep. Same here. Yeah. No one's gotten the Rock and Roll Over package from KOL.
Yeah.
As we recorded this show, I got an email that said that my KISS Army stuff finally shipped.
The stuff that Jason just showed, that KISS Army kit.
Yeah, the KISS Army kit stuff. So, and also, John, I mentioned this on the last episode. The solo album box set. There was a lot of issues with how they shipped those. Did you get a solo album box set?
I did. Yeah.
How were your covers? Did they have any marks on them?
They just very light, but yes, I know what you're talking about.
Both of mine were noticeable. Like some of them you could wipe off,
right?
But some of them were like very noticeable. So they, after a couple of months, they finally pulled. They had extra covers, and they sent me extra covers. And when they did, the corners were all banged in. They're dead mint covers.
Oh, beautiful.
But the corners are all banged in. So
I'm sorry.
I'm having the worst luck with these people. So
yeah.
I'll
as you guys
never order
may or
from
may
them
not
again.
know, I mean, when I'm on the road, I follow the page, and I watch the podcasts, and
I know you do.
love to do when I'm on, days off. And I was seeing everybody, receiving their packages and posting them, and some of the issues that were going, the damage. And I knew mine was coming while I was gone. I was in Europe, and I'm like, oh man, please let it be okay. Luckily it went okay. But that's always scary, man. You hope they know what they're doing when it comes to packaging,
Well, I think it was just everything was loose in there. And if you recall, they put these little things like in between the album cover and
parchment paper.
And the parchment paper and the little photos, the 12 by 12 photos. When they shipped me these, they put parchment paper in between each one.
That's
But
great.
but then they put it in a box that
And then
was it was
boom.
too tight, and
Yeah.
it just got. I mean, they're just bashed in.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
That's
So,
terrible.
Damn.
I sent them another message, and they were like, "Dad, gummit, you are having the worst luck." And they said,
Yeah.
"We'll get back to you if we have any more." So
Yeah.
you're the first one that has gotten the replacement sets damaged.
Right.
Of course, it's me. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't it be?
I'll never order from them again. I never will. When these new vinyl come out, I'm always going to go through Sound of Vinyl because I had absolutely no issue at all with Sound of Vinyl.
Now this was Sound of Vinyl.
Oh, that
It was.
This is Sound of Vinyl. Yeah.
the replacement covers.
Yeah, the replacement covers are
Oh.
from Sound of Vinyl. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was the package. So
Mm-mm.
so okay. So we're off on a tangent here. So
well, hold on. Before we round it, I want to make clear. I got one box set from the Sound of Vinyl and one box set I bought as a bundle from KOL. Both of them had issues with the covers. I only reached out to Sound of Vinyl to see if they can do something about sending me replacement covers for those because I'm just going to deal with the other one. I mean, it's just too much trouble.
Right.
If they can get me one set of good covers,
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Right.
But other than that, and this is where we are. So it was Sound of Vinyl that sent those replacement tickets to me.
I see.
So anyway,
I see. When Sound of Vinyl sent me my my Rock and Roll Over colored vinyl, it was great.
So
it showed it.
I had no issues with that. Yeah, I think it's just how it's packaged in that box. If they would have put the parchment paper in between each one of them, I don't think they would have any issues whatsoever.
Yeah.
So
And it's not enough really to just pop it into an LP mailer. They need to put that inside,
that's right.
That's the whole deal because you simply drop it on a corner on its side. It's done. It doesn't protect it.
This is how they sent them to me, John. This is what they sent them in.
Yeah, just the size of the covers.
Right. And so you can see the corner of that has been dropped.
Right. Boom. You drop
Who's
it and then
the,
it's done.
gone.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Who's the seller on the old wax page that would put like those glass? They were supposed to be for sheets of glass.
That's
they would put in the corners.
Axel.
That's
It's
Axel.
Axel.
Right. Yeah.
And
I've still got those here somewhere.
He's the king, man. I wish I could find those. That's a great way to do it. He's
is.
genius with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably from a hardware store because they were. I'm almost positive they were for glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
They're
think
for
so.
shipping mirrors. They're for shipping
for
mirrors.
It's genius, man. It's great,
really
especially
is.
if you order just one or two things. I've dealt with him. He's great. And yeah, they're awesome. That's great packaging. Good example of correct packaging, especially for international.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. And speaking of international, on the next show, I'll have something cool international to show. I'm
Good
really
job.
excited.
I've
Really
got
excited
a
about it.
couple cool things coming to the show as well. So
Really excited.
I'm
So,
spending way
John,
too much
any parting thoughts on this? I mean, you have a big, great, good collection. Do Seether fans who meet you, do they bring you KISS stuff? Do they know?
I've had a few actually. Yeah, man. It gets out that I'm a KISS fan. I've had a couple that have given me shirts at meet and greets, or one even gave me a signed album.
That's awesome.
So
I mean, it's incredible. Just such great, people that know, Seether, know about the band and us personally, and that's really cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's awesome,
Oh.
man. It's awesome.
But
Well,
I think 2019 is going to be a great year to be a KISS fan. I think
yes,
on
I
a
agree.
last
I
note,
think
man, I'm looking forward to this last show in Oklahoma. Like I said, I'm going to take my boys. It's going to be a boys' night out, and I'm excited about it, man.
Me too.
I'm looking forward to it.
I've got tickets to a couple of shows so far, and I'm sure I will pick up a couple more because down here in the Southeast, they're all around us. All around us.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
anywhere from Nashville within a 2-hour drive, 2 to 3 hour drive, Atlanta and Memphis and Nashville and Louisville and Birmingham. There's a lot to hit. So so it'll be fun. And then 2018 was a great time to be a KISS fan too, as far as collectors go. Man,
yeah, a lot of cool stuff came out, man.
A lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, I love the colored vinyl, and
Yeah, me too.
really fun.
Hopefully they'll keep pumping those out because man,
Yeah.
they've got me hook, line, and sinker on that stuff. I'll buy that
Absolutely.
stuff all day long.
I want
And it
KISS Alive
costs-
2 next.
Costs them no extra money.
Right.
KISS Alive
No
2.
extra. Yeah. So
Right.
Purple
All right.
vinyl KISS Alive 2. That'd be cool.
I agree.
Yeah.
Purple and blue swirl.
Wow. Yeah.
I'll take it.
Take it.
I'll take it. I don't care. So
That's it.
all right. We want to thank John Humphrey for joining
guys.
Andrew and I on the show today. And when Andrew said that, he was lining you up to be on, I was very excited. I've always wanted to have you back on the show and talk about other stuff. So, man, we appreciate you taking the time out today.
Absolutely.
And appreciate you always supporting the show and the groups and all that stuff. You consider you a good friend, and you just really appreciate everything. Andrew, you got anything you need to say?
No, I don't.
Good. All right.
Thanks,
Well,
guys.
All right. We
See you
will
on the next
see
one.
you on the next one. Hey, you beat
All
me.
right.
Okay, start your story. Say that again.
So,